Welcome to Legends of Link Between Worlds on the Nintendo 3DS. This is the first actual episode to this Let's Play. In the last episode we just kind of had an introduction and I just kind of introduced everything that would be going on here during this video series. Anyways, this game starts off similar to a lot of different Zelda games. It kind of has a combination of a Link to the Past and also kind of the Minish Cap. Minish Cap has connections to that, whereas you are starting off as a blacksmith of the sorts, kind of an apprentice, and you need to, well, you're just a boy that's really lazy. And that also seems to be a theme in the Legend of Zelda series, where Link is always this lazy boy that is asleep, and that's happened in Ocarina of Time. Navi even makes a snide comment about how the future of Hyrule can't really depend on such a lazy boy. And also in Skyward Sword, where the introduction starts off with Link fast asleep, dreaming of a monster which ended up being Demise / the imprisoned, and then Zelda woke him up very affectionately. So same kind of concept here, and like in Link to the Past, we're going to be quickly thrust into things where we'll be kind of like really just shoved into the action fairly quickly on into the game. So what we're going to do here is visit where we work at. And hopefully I can find a way to keep Dotson, my puppy, to be quiet while I'm recording these, but that's not likely, so get used to hearing puppy barks in the background. This guy is still fairly young and needs a lot of attention and love. Yes, he does. He is now sitting in my lap. Hopefully that will calm him down a little bit. Anyways, I've actually been really sick over the last few days. Got this game a while back and I'm running extremely far behind because I've been sick and had a ton of stuff going on, and I'm just not getting these episodes done as quickly as I would like to, but hopefully I can catch up tonight, maybe. Anyways, A Link Between Worlds comes out this Friday, November 22nd. Comes out a little bit early in New York at the Nintendo World Store, just a couple hours earlier on the 21st, which is today, which is hopefully when this episode will be launched to the YouTube channel. Anyways, what we're going to do is very similar to the Minish Cap, is we have a sword to deliver. So we're going to try and track down this guy here, and he is hiding all over. He's not hiding, he's just, we keep missing him. So we're going to head to the sanctuary. Everybody here seems to know about shortcuts, so we'll be just taking people's shortcuts. Now, as you can see, along the walls of the castle, you saw a knight kind of scrubbing a painting off the wall. And if you talk to the different people in the town and in the castle area, you hear a lot of people talking about how there are paintings that have been popping up all over, and just like graffiti that's just covering the walls. Anyways, what you want to do, whenever you see one of these bird statues, they're called weather vanes, just like interact with it, and that creates a new save point, also a new place that you can warp to, which we'll get to later on into the game. Nintendo really has a thing with birds and being a save feature in the Zelda games. We had it in Majora's Mask, where bird statues were a way to save. Skyward Sword had kind of statues of the sorts as well that were bird themed, and it's just kind of something that's a recurring element in this series, and of course we have it here as well. Anyways, Dampé has made a return to the Zelda series. He's been missing since at least the Ocarina of Time Majora's Mask. I want to say he was in the Minish Cap, but do not take my word on that. Pretty sure he was. So it's been a while since he's been in a game, and it's kind of cool to see him back, see a little throwback. Yes, this game is kind of like a sequel to A Link to the Past and uses a lot of the same characters and enemies and general designs, but they also kind of threw this guy back in here as well. So that's always a cool little thing. Anyways, one of the things that has been circulating is that from the start of the game, you will be in a dungeon within 5 minutes. That is sort of true and sort of not true. We're going to go ahead and push open this gravestone. It's the most obvious one there, so it just kind of works out. And that will take us into here, which is what I guess people are considering to be the first dungeon of the game. Calling this the first dungeon in the game is sort of a... not, I would say it's not accurate, but whatever. It still does not take you too long to get into the first dungeon of the game, but it's definitely not 5 minutes like all the sites have been reporting. This is less of a dungeon than the Hyrule Castle segment was in the original A Link to the Past, where you actually had to sneak down into the sewers after freeing Zelda from deep within Hyrule Castle. That was a lot more in-depth than this, but it's still, we're definitely quicker into the action than any of the other Zelda games recently. Much faster than Twilight Princess, way faster than Skyward Sword. So it's nice to see A Link Between Worlds kind of going back to the roots of this series a little bit. In the original, The Legend of Zelda, Adventure of Link, A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, those 4 games, the first 4 in the series, had none of this training ground sections. They just immediately put you into the action and let you figure things out on your own. And that's actually one of the reasons why the series became so popular, especially the original Zelda game, where they had Nintendo used to have phone hotlines where you call in and get advice on how to beat a section of a game, because there were no clues, there were no like in-game like tips of any sort. It was just like find it, beat it, do it on your own. And it's nice to see that a return to that, because after Link's Awakening, we had Ocarina of Time, where you was the first game in the series where you had a training section in the Kokurai forest, where you had where you're supposed to find a sword, a shield, collect some rupees, and then you would go inside the Great Deku Tree for the first dungeon. So it's definitely a change of things from the past. Now we're going to get a call back to A Link to the Past here, with this section here. In the original game, when you pulled on the wrong switch, a bunch of ropes from the sky appeared and you had to fight them off, and you have that here as well. And there's a lot of references to the older games in the series here in A Link Between Worlds, and we'll be talking about those more in depth as that time comes. Anyways, we have reached the sanctuary, so I will be quiet for this oncoming cutscene. And after all the chaos from that cutscene, we're going to wake up back inside of a house with this strange new character named Ravio. He is a traveling merchant, as he's describing, and he sort of looks like a Nabbit from the Super Mario series. and he's gotten a lot of attention. People actually thought he might be Nabbit in some way, but he is not. It's a completely new character that just bears similarities mostly with the rabbit kind of themed hat. So anyways, this character is going to play a vital role in A Link Between Worlds, and he is going to just kind of set up shop here inside of our house. But first off, he's going to talk about how he wants to kind of hang out in our house for a little bit. So we're just gonna let him stay. We're a nice guy. I mean, why not? We're not going to be using the house. And he even makes a little joke like, hey, since you're never gonna be here, let me stay. And that's kind of a call due to the fact that even though Link always has a house in a bunch of the games, you never go into it. You never go back. And you're always out adventuring in dungeons, solving puzzles, doing whatever it takes to save Hyrule / wherever you are saving at that time. So we're going to wear Ravio's bracelet, which is essentially the most important bracelet or most important item in the game, and we'll be kind of going more into depth with that as well here momentarily. But a lot of the developer interviews at the time, before this game came out, really talked about how important this item would be, and of course we'll get into all of that later. So what we're going to do now is head up to the castle. What we need to do is find a way. Let's see what they're saying. Find a way to warn Princess Zelda. The soldiers are not going to believe us. Now, I do not like the soldier designs here in this game. They look like toy soldiers, and they look like they belong in Candyland. But whatever. I prefer the designs from A Link to the Past / the common soldier enemies that we'll be killing here in this game and A Link to the Past. So, also back to the series is Impa. She is one of the Sheikah. I don't know if she's considered a Sheikah in this game, but she's been a Sheikah in pretty much every other Zelda game that she has played a role in. And she plays as the royal maid to Princess Zelda and the royal family. So it's good to see her back, and she'll be, of course, playing a larger role in the game later as well. So what we're going to do while we are waiting for everything to get going on is they just kind of want us to check out these murals on the wall. And it tells the story of the events that happened before A Link Between Worlds, and that is with A Link to the Past. It's just telling the story of A Link to the Past and what happened. And to trigger on this next section before we can even move on, it makes us look at all of these Hero Awakens. So definitely check them out, otherwise you'll never continue on. So it's good to see, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of calls back to the events before A Link Between Worlds, and this game is considered a sort of sequel. It's not a direct sequel, but it takes place in the same Hyrule as A Link to the Past. A lot of the same characters exist, the same overworld for the most part is there. Of course, there's differences over the maybe a couple hundred years that has taken place since those events, but a lot of the themes, enemy designs, characters, locations are back, and that's really cool to see. Anyways, here with Princess Zelda, so I'm going to be quiet for this cutscene as well. And she's just going to give us pendants, pretty much one of the pendants of one of the essences. It's kind of like A Link to the Past, again, where you collected the 3 pendants of virtue, or whatever they were called, courage, wisdom, and power, and you needed those 3 pendants to collect or acquire the Master Sword. and it's similar to Ocarina of Time again, where you collected the 3 jewels and then you were able to open the door of time to get the Master Sword. It's the same concept. So of course what we're going to be doing next is getting those 2 other pendants, and that will be something that we will be going into more detail here momentarily. And well, we'll be going into more of that. We're going to, just like in A Link to the Past, go visit this guy's house here in Kakariko Village. And like a lot of this game, the whole introduction is very similar to A Link to the Past. Up to us here talking to Sahasrara. I don't even know how you pronounce his name. If anybody knows, let me know. I'm going to call him Sash, even though that's not even close, but we're just going to call him Sash. I'm going to insert an S there before that H and cut off the rest. So we're just going to learn about the whole 7 stages, and of course it's everything that happened in A Link to the Past. And we kind of got this whole very similar chain of events happening here, because even in A Link to the Past, the first dungeon we went to was the Eastern Palace after we spoke to Sash. And then so yeah, we're going to go ahead and head over there. It's very, very similar to how it was in Link to the Past, and that's going to be something that you're going to hear me say a lot. So, alright, we're just going to go ahead and head off to east. If you don't know where it's at, it's marked on your map. If you really don't know where it's at, then you've obviously never played A Link to the Past before. So, just head to the east. Keep on heading. Now, I was going to have the bottom screen show up on this video as well, but there really wasn't a good spot to kind of put the bottom screen. When I did the Animal Crossing New Leaf video series for a little bit, I had the bottom screen just kind of popped up there in the top, but there's always something going on. If I have in the bottom left, that's where my health is, and if I have in the bottom right, well, that's where text boxes are. The top left, you have a bunch of items and stuff like that later on, so there's just really no good spot for me to have that bottom screen. I feel comfortable where I could keep it there consistently and not have something get cut off or not be in the way of some kind of puzzle or something going on. Anyways, we just need to find our way through, and it looks like we need arrows to get into this dungeon here. So I'm going to look around a little bit, see if there's anything else that we can do. We do not have any items yet, but we will be acquiring a bunch of them here momentarily. And Ravio is actually as he said earlier, he is a merchant, so he is going to be the one where we can get a bunch of items from. Now, rupees are very important in this game as you're constantly renting or buying items, and that's something that we definitely need, are items. There are no, well, for the most part, there are no items that you acquire in dungeons. All the dungeons I have been through so far do not have items, so there might be a couple, but from the 5 that I've beaten, there have been no items in that dungeon, so I'm assuming that there probably are none. And all the items that you get, you actually rent from Ravio. I'm just exploring here, seeing if there's anything I want to do. Now, this is primarily a blind let's play. Every now and then I might go through an area before recording just to kind of get a feel for it. I have not done that at this point in the game. It's right there at the beginning, so I'm just kind of exploring things a little bit. So this game sort of, well, it's sort of like Four Swords Adventures and Skyward Sword, where there's the ability to upgrade items, which we'll get to much later on, not right now, but the items are just, they're kind of like mixing up the series a little bit. And we're back here in our home / Ravio's, and he's just kind of setting up base here. And he's going to rent us out the bow and arrows, and it's just a pretty cheap fee most of the time. I believe he's going to give us this one for free when we indicate what we needed. Yes, it was. He just always knows what we need, and he puts his little markers up. It's almost like he is a bad guy. Maybe he is. We'll find out later. I have no idea. I doubt it. Why would he be helping us and renting stuff to us? But it's kind of weird. With that is the addition of the magic meter, which overhauls, or not the magic, the energy meter / energy gauge, which overhauls how items are used. No longer do you acquire arrows or bombs or any kind of item just off the ground to replenish your stock. Every item uses some of your energy, like that. When you shoot it, just kind of goes down, and then it recharges automatically, sort of like Skyward Sword's energy gauge, except this time it's used for more than running or moving or climbing. It's used for everything, including stuff that we'll be getting to later on here in the game. So now that we have our arrows back, we're going to return to the Eastern Palace so we can go ahead and enter, and we're going to shoot these 2 switches. Once we do that, we're going to save and prepare for the first dungeon of the game, which is going to be really similar. And with that, I am going to just kind of do a quick lap around, see what all there is around us. A ton of treasure chests, and that is going to wrap up the first episode here of A Link Between Worlds. I hope you guys are enjoying this video series. I will have a lot more coming out soon. Pretty much as quickly as I can get these videos rendered, then they will be released. Just trying to collect everything I see here before entering the dungeon. That's probably going to be about it. So stay tuned for more A Link Between Worlds. It should be coming out later today with this video as well. And we're going to go ahead and just work our way up to the Eastern Palace, where we will start things off in the next episode. Thank you for watching. Please leave me some feedback, comments, and likes. It's always appreciated.